But is the strong version valid? People often say that they have been profoundly changed by adversity, yet researchers have so far collected little evidence of adversity-induced personality change beyond such reports. People's scores on personality tests is fairly stable over the course of few years, even for people who report that they changed a great deal in the interim. In one of the few studies that tried to verify reports of growth by asking the subject's friend about it, the friend noticed much less change than the subject had reported. These studies might, however, have been looking for change in the wrong place. Psychologists often approach personality by measuring basic traits such as Big Five, neuro, neuro, neuroticism, extroversion, openness to new experience, agreeableness, warmth and niceness, and consciousness. These traits are fact about the elephant, about the person's automatic reactions to the various situations. They are fairly similar between identical twins reared apart, indicating that they are influenced in part by genes, although they are also influenced by changes in the conditions of one's life and the roles one plays, such as becoming a parent. But psychologist Dan McAdams has suggested that personality really has three levels, and too much attention has been paid to the lowest level, the basic trait. A second level of personality characteristic adaptations include personal goals, defense, and coping mechanism, values, belief, and life stage concerns, such as those of parenthood and retirement, that people develop to succeed in their particular roles and niches. These adaptations are influenced by basic traits. A person's high on neuroticism will have many more defense mechanisms. An extrovert will rely more heavily on social relationships. But in this middle level, the person's basic traits are made to mesh with that person's environment and stage of life. Then those fact changes. As after losing a spouse, a person characteristic adaptation change. The elephant might be slow to change, but the elephant and rider working together find a new ways to get through the day. The third level of personality is all that of the life story. Human beings in every culture are fascinated by stories. We created them wherever we can. See those seven stars up there. They are seven sisters who once. It's no different with our own life. We can't stop ourselves from creating that McAdams for creating creating what McAdams described as an evolving stories that indicates a reconstructed past, perceived present, and anticipated futures into a coherent and vitalizing life myth. Although the lowest level of personality is most about the elephant, the life story is written primarily by the writer. You create your story in consciousness as you interpret your own behavior and as you listen to the other people's thought about it. The life story is not the work of historian. Remember that the writer has no access to the real cause of the behavior. It is more like a work of historical fiction that makes plenty of reference to the real events and connects them by dramatizations and interpretations that might or might not be true to the spirit of what happened. From this three-level perspective, it becomes clear why adversity might be necessary for optimal human development. Most of the life goals that people pursue at the level of characteristic adaptation can be sorted, as the psychologist Robert Emmons has found, in four categories: work and achievement, relation and intimacy, religion and spirituality, and generativity, leaving a legacy and contributing something to society. Although it is generally good for you to pursue goals, not all goals are equal. People who strive primarily for achievement and wealth are immense finds less happy on average. People who strive primarily for achievement and wealth are immense and less happy on marriage than those who strive and focus on other three categories. The reason takes us back to happiness traps unconscious, conspicuous consumptions. See chapter 5. Because human beings were shaped by evolutionary process to pursue success, not happiness. People enthusiastically pursue goals that will help them win prestige in zero-sum competitions. Success is in these competitions feel good, but gives no lasting pleasure, and it raises the bar for future success. When tragedy strikes, however, it knocks you off the treadmill and forces a decision: hop back on and return to business as usual, or try something else. There is a window of time, just a few weeks or months after the tragedy, during which you are more open to something else. During this time, achievement goals often lose their allure, sometimes coming to seem pointless. If you shift towards other goals, family, religion, or helping others, you shift to incons- inconspicuous consumptions, and the pleasure derived along the way are not fully subject to adaptation treadmill effect. The pursuit of these goals therefore led to more happiness but less wealth on average. Many people change their goals in the wake of adversity. They resolve to work less, to love and play more. If in those first few months you take action, you do something that changes your daily life, then the change might stick. But if you do nothing more than make a resolution, I must never forget my new outlook on life, then you will soon slip back into old habits and pursue old goals. The rider can exert some influence at forks in the road, but the elephant hinders daily life, responding automatically to the environment. Adversity by necessary for growth because it forces you to stop speeding along the road of life, allowing you to notice the path that were branching off all along, and to think about where you really want to end up. At the third level of personality, at the third level of personality, the need for adversity is more obvious. You need industry material to write a good story. Mike Adams says that stories are fundamentally about the vicissitudes of human intention, organized in time. You can't have a good life story without vicissitudes. And if the best you can come up with is what your parents refuse to buy you a sports car or for your 16th birthday, nobody will want to read your memories. In the thousands of life stories, Meg Adams has gathered several genres and associated with well-being. For example, in the commitment story, the protagonist has a supportive family background, is sensitized early in life to the suffering of others, is guided by a clear and compelling personal ideology, and at some point transforms or redeems failures, mistakes, or crises into a positive outcome, a process that often involves setting new goals that commit to self to help to helping others. The life of Buddha is a classic example. For example, in the commitment story, the protagonist has a supportive family background, is sensitized early in life to the suffering of others, is guided by a clear and compelling personal ideology, and at some point transforms or redeems failure, mistakes, or crisis into a positive outcome. A process that often involves setting new goals that commit the self to helping others. The life of the Buddha is a classic example. In contrast, some people's stories show a contamination sequence in which emotionally positive events go bad and everything is spoiled. People who tell such stories are not surprisingly more likely to be depressed. Indeed, part of the pathology of depression is that while ruminating, the depressed person reworks her life narrative by using the tools of Beck's negative triad. I am bad, the world is bad, and my future is tough. Although adversity that is not overcome can create a story of depressing breakdown, substantial adversity might be necessary for meaningful story. McAdams' ideas are profoundly important for understanding post- post-traumatic growth. His three levels of personality allow us to think about coherence among the levels. What happens when the three levels of personality don't match up? Imagine a woman whose basic traits are warm and great and gre- gregarious, but who strive for success in a career that offers few chances for close contact with people, and whose life story is about an artist forced by her parents to pursue a practical career. She is a mess of mismatched motives and souls, and it may be that only through adversity she will be able to make the radical changes she would need to achieve coherence among them. The psychologist Ken Sheldon and Tim Kessler have found that people who are mentally healthy and keep have, and happy have a higher degree of vertical coherence among them. That is, higher level long-term goals and lower level immediate goals all fit together well so that pursuing one's short-term goals advances the pursuit of long-term goals. Trauma often shatters belief systems and robs people of their sense of meaning. In so doing, it forces people to put the piece back together, and often they do so by using God or some higher purpose as unifying principles. London and Chicago seized the opportunity provided by their great fires to remake themselves into kinder and more coherent cities. People sometimes see such opportunities to rebuilding beautifully those parts of their lives and life stories that they could never have torn down voluntarily. People often report having grown after coping with adversity. They could be trying to describe a new sense of inner coherence. This coherence might not be visible to oneself, but it feels like growth, strength, maturity, and wisdom from inside. Blessed are the sense makers. When bad things happen to good people, we have a problem. We know consciously that life is unfair, but unconsciously we see the world through the lens of reciprocity. The downfall of an evil man, in our biased and moralistic assessment, is no puzzle. He had it coming to him. But when the victim was virtuous, we struggle to make sense of his tragedy. At an intuitive level, we all believe in karma, the Hindu notion that people reap what they sow. The psychologist Mel Lerner has demonstrated that we are so motivated to believe that people get what they deserve and deserve what they get. We often blame the victim of a tragedy, particularly When we can't achieve justice by punishing a perpetrator or compensating the victim. In Lerner's experiment, the desperate need to make sense of events can lead people to inaccurate conclusions. For example, a woman led on a rapist, but in general, the ability to make sense of tragedy and then find benefit in it is the key that unlocks post-traumatic growth. But in general, the ability to make sense of tragedy and find benefit in it is the key that unlocks post-traumatic growth. When trauma strikes, some people find the key dangling around their necks with instructions printed on it. Others are left to fend for themselves, and they do not end as well. Psychologists have devoted a great deal of effort to figuring out who benefits from trauma and who is crushed. The answers compound the already great unfairness of life. Optimists are more likely to benefit than pessimists. Optimists are, for the most part, people who won the career lottery. They have a high happiness set points, they habitually look on the bright side, and they easily find silver linings. Life has a way of making the rich get richer and people and happy get happier. When a crisis strikes, people cope with these three primary skills: active coping, taking action, direct action to fix the problem; reappraisal, doing the work within, getting one's own thought right and looking for the silver lining; and avoidance coping, working to blend one emotional reaction to deny or avoiding the events, or by drinking, drugs, and other distractions. People who have a basic level trait of optimism tend to develop coping styles that alternate between coping and reappraisal. Because optimists expect their effort to pay off, they go right to work fixing the problem. But if they fail, they expect that things usually work out for the best. So they can't take help but look for the possible benefit. When they find them, they create a new chapters in their life stories. McAdams level a story of continued overcoming and growth. In contrast, people who have a relatively negative affective style compete with more activity in the front right cortex than the frontal left, live in a world filled with many more threats, and have less confidence that they can deal with them. They develop a coping style that relies more heavily on avoidance and other defense mechanisms. They work harder to manage their fear than to fix their problems, so their problems often get worse. Drawing the lesson that drawing the lesson that the world is unjust and uncontrollable, and that things often work out for the best. They weave this lesson into their life story where it contaminates the narrative. If you are a pessimist, you are probably feeling gloomy right now. But discipline, the key to growth is not optimism per se. It is the sense making that optimists find easy. If you can find a way to make sense of adversity and draw constructive lessons from it, you can benefit and you can learn to become a sense maker by reading Jamie Grammer's Opening Up. Penny Baker began his research by studying the relationship between trauma, such as childhood sexual abuse, and later health problems. Trauma and stress are usually bad for people, and when people thought that self-disclosure, talking with friends or therapists, might help the body at the same time that it helps the mind. One of his early hypotheses was that traumas that carry more shame, such as being raped, as opposed to a non-sexual or losing a spouse to suicide rather than to a car accident, would produce more illness because people are less likely to talk about such events with others. But the nature of trauma turned out to be most irrelevant. What mattered was was what people did after. Those who talked with their friends or with the support group are largely spared the health-damaging effects of trauma. Once Pennebaker had found a correlation between disclosure and health, he took the next step in the scientific process and tried to create health benefits by getting people to disclose their secrets. Pennebaker asked people to write about the most upsetting or traumatic experience of their entire life, preferably one they had not talked about with others in great detail. He gave them plenty of blank paper and asked them to keep writing for 15 minutes of four consecutive days. Subjects in a control group were asked to write about some other topic, for example, their house or typical holiday, for the same amount of time. In each of his study, Pennebaker got his subject permission to obtain their medical report at some point in the future. Then he waited a year and observed how people often in the two groups got sick. The people who wrote about traumas went to the doctor or hospital fewer times in the following year. I did not believe the result when I first heard it. On how on earth could 1 hour of writing stave off the flu 6 months later? Pennebaker research seems to support an old-fashioned Freudian notions of catharsis. People who express their emotions, get it off their chest, or let off steam are healthier. Having once reviewed the literature on the catharsis hypothesis, I knew that there was no evidence for it. Letting off steam make people angrier, not calmer. Pennebaker discovered that it is not about steam, it's about sense making. The people in his study who used their writing time to vent got no benefit. The Pennebaker discovered it is not about steam, it's about sense making. The people in his studies who used their writing time to vent got no benefits. The people who showed deep insight into the causes and consequences of the event on their first day of writing got no benefits either. They had already made sense of things. It was the people who made progress across the 4 days who showed increasing insight. They were the ones whose benefit improved over the next year. In late Later studies, when people asked people to dance or sing to express their emotion, but these emotionally expressive activities gave no health benefits. You have to use words, and the words have to help you create a meaningful story. If you can write such a story, you can reap the benefits of repression. One of the two healthy coping styles, even years after an event. You can close a chapter of your life that was still open, still affecting your thoughts and preventing you from moving on with rather negative. Anyone therefore can benefit from adversity, although a pessimist will have to take some extra steps, some conscious, brighter initiative step to guide the elephant gently in the right direction. The first step is to do what you can before adversity strikes, to change your cognitive style. If you are a pessimist, consider meditation, cognitive therapy, or even Prozac. All three will make you less subject to negative ruminations, more able to guide your thought in opposite directions, and therefore not able to withstand future adversity, find meaning in it, and grow from it. The second step is to cherish and build your social support network. Having one or two good attachment relationships help adults as well as children and monkeys to face check. Trusted friends who are good listeners can be a great aid to making sense of healing. Third, religious faith and practice can aid growth, both by directly fostering making sense. Religions provide stories and interpretive schemes for losses and crises, and by increasing social support. Religious people have relationships through their religious communities, and many have relationships with God. A portion of the benefits of religiosity could also be a result of confession and disclosure of inner turmoil, either to God or to a religious authority that many religions encourage. And finally, no matter how well or poorly prepared you you are when trouble strikes, at some point in the month afterward, pull out a piece of paper and start writing. Penmaker suggested you write continuously for 15 minutes a day for several days. Don't edit or censor yourself. Don't worry about grammar or sentence structure. Just keep writing. Write about what happened, how you feel about it, and why you feel that way. If you hate to write, you can talk into the tape recorder. The crucial thing is to get your thoughts and feelings out without imposing any order on them, but in such a way that after a few days some order is likely to emerge on its own. Before you conclude your last session, be sure you have done your best answer these two questions. Why did this happen? What good I might get from it?